Hey everyone, welcome to a Myopia bonus episode. This week, we are honoring the 20th anniversary of Austin Powers Goldmember. The movie's so mediocre and bad, it killed the entire franchise. And who knows, maybe we'll get to it. But we are going to re-release from our back catalog Never Say Never Again, the mediocre Bond movie that stopped the entire, second franchise. We'll get into it a little bit, but at one point, the Bond franchise had split into two series, and this was Sean Connery returning and a remake of Thunderball, which was, it was something. So please enjoy as we tie this all the way to our back catalog in the early days of Myopia. Thanks, guys.
Never say never again. Never say never again.
Okay, welcome to Myopia from Your Childhood Mission Briefing Edition. We're going to screw up the titles on purpose because we didn't do a Bond movie this week. We did the non-EO version. Eon, yeah. It's not a Captain EO movie either, but it's
I would totally have paid money to see Michael Jackson play James Bond.
Guys, I don't know. What am I supposed to do with these women? I feel funny.
Can't I just defeat the villains through the magic of dance?
That would have been so funny. If he jumped in with what's her name and did the dance sequence.
Oh.
Okay, so we did Never Say Never Again, which was, there's more to the story about how this movie was made than to the actual plot. Mm-hmm. This is a weird one, too. It follows none of our normal formats because there's no cold open. There's barely a theme sequence, and the title sequence doesn't really work, other than the fact that they rip off Dr. No, kind of, which is atrocious. Yeah. So before we get too far off the rails, I'll make it clear, this is a reimagining of Thunderball. We'll get into the Kevin McClory stuff later, but John, can you give us the plot synopsis? Because we don't really have a thing.
Please, no. Yeah. Please. Basically, okay, all right. So,
was that a retch?
Take the plot of Thunderball.
Yep.
You've got Spectre.
Ooh.
Spectre comes back. We see Spectre again, thankfully, which is good. They steal two nukes in a very overly complicated, over-the-top kind of way, which is very James Bond, to be fair.
Yeah.
And what they do with those nukes is somewhat unclear. They stick one somewhere under Washington, which is just kind of written out of the plot. And they try to put one in the Middle East to do something.
Weren't they holding the world for ransom? It was the Dr. Evil plot.
25% of the world's oil exports.
Which seems low if you're holding the world for ransom, really.
And then a bunch of stereotypes says, that will bankrupt my country.
And then they go ahead and try to blow up the oil reserves anyway?
Question mark.
Yeah. So you've got Bond, you've got Largo, who returns from Thunderball, only this time he's got two eyes, and he likes to play video games. And you've got Kim Basinger as the love interest.
Domino,
yeah.
Not Domino Harvey, Domino Petaluca.
And she's probably
Petrucci, okay.
Yeah, she's probably one of the older Bond girls, because at this point she must have been 35 something.
No, even worse. She was 30 on the nose and looked 35.
Okay.
Lemony Snicket.
Because we actually looked her up, yeah.
Back in the 80s, she was looking pretty good. It wasn't.
Yeah, she still wasn't acting very well, but
no, she was not.
That's why you hire someone like her to act.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up until you get to Cool World, at which point it just all goes to hell.
So do you have more? Because there's not much.
That's about it, really. Yeah.
I do want to say this is only to step on John slightly. The only thing you need to remember here. This is Sean Connery's return after Diamonds Are Forever.
Yep.
And I want to quote the time, the London Times of London, right?
The Times.
The Times. Because as you can imagine, Sean Connery has. We mentioned this when he takes over. Sean Connery is slightly older. Looking than Roger Moore, but Roger Moore's actually technically older. And so Roger Moore now has been doing the movies for, 6-7 years?
Since 73 was Live and Let Die?
So a decade. Literally a decade. Yeah. And to quote David Robinson of The Times, Connery ... is back, looking hardly a day older or thicker, and still outclassing every exponent in the role for good-natured throwaway with which he parries all sex and violence on the way. That's a very generous interpretation of what Sean Connery does.
You should read Ebert's review back in the day. He gave it like 3.5 stars, and he was talking about how it was the equivalent of a Beatles reunion, having Sean Connery play 007 again.
I mean, he is Bond.
He's the best part of the movie.
Oh, by far.
By far, yes.
Now, the other side of it, okay, so I guess to correspond with what John was saying, we should talk a little bit about how this movie was made.
Was it really made?
Well,
It was assembled.
it is technically a movie in that celluloid was used, and they pumped it directly out of his wig.
Scenes were blocked. Film was shot.
Directed by the director of Empire Strikes Back, Irvin Kershner, who shows up on a bonus feature looking like a Muppet. He literally looks like someone you'd see in the cantina scene with like a wrinkly skull and an elongated face.
Aw,
Poor guy.
he was like 80 going on 150 when he was filming those.
When George
features.
Lucas approached me about directing the Empire movie,
I have no idea where I am right now.
I thought
Please
Star
help
Wars
me.
was Star Trek.
I'm so confused.
Henson did a good job at reviving the Sean Connery puppet. I'm glad I'm the only one who thought that was funny. Okay, so Kevin McClory is a young upstart writer in the 50s and 60s, and Ian Fleming taps him to help him write a screenplay. The idea, which had a horrible name, we'll just call it Thunderball for now because it becomes Thunderball, right?
Right.
Rather than starting with Dr. No, they were going to make a Thunderball movie in which a crazy person named Largo steals 2 nuclear weapons and holds the world hostage, which in many ways becomes the plot of every later Bond movie where a horrible device is going to be used to hold the world hostage. Fine. They couldn't sell the movie. It was a spy movie without James Bond, effectively.
Weren't they trying to sell it to TV or something as a TV series?
Yeah, essentially. And there were several versions of the script. There was a movie version as well. None of it sold. So Ian Fleming took the script with all the characters, right? And then published it as the book Thunderball, which coincided with the release of, with the selling of Bond as a movie character.
Right.
Then we enter 20 years of lawsuits going back and forth, where McClory is claiming you stole Thunderball from me.
And Spectre, because Thunderball is when
Spectre is invented.
Blofeld showed up.
And all these things go back and forth. And after 10 years, he wins the lawsuit. And that's why right in the middle of the Sean years, we finally make Thunderball, of which McClory is a producer. McClory then threatens like, well, this is done. I get to be a producer forever. And they're like, nope. And so they cross-sue him again. And it goes into litigation a second time for about 10 years. Then finally, he gets his own rights. That's why they're allowed to use Q and M and Bond and Moneypenny by name here. They use Spectre by name. And the Bond movies can no longer use Spectre. However, things get weird because after this movie, even though it makes a lot of money, right? It makes like $160 million or
$26 million budget.
Octopussy grossed more, but like just barely. It was maybe like 10 or 20 million more.
And so they were planning a whole series of other movies to correspond, to compete first with the 80s, then it got delayed because that's how lawsuits work, and then ultimately to run against the Pierce Brosnan movies.
I remember they were going to make a movie in the 90s called Warhead 2000 that was the same plot, and they were just going to try and get Timothy Dalton back.
Yeah. Which, all in the all, ends up with this whole situation in which finally they buy out McClory's estate after he dies.
Yeah.
And that's why we have Spectre finally. Of all plots to fight over, of all the books,
Thunderball, really?
this is not worth any of this. The best part, again, is Sean Connery coming back, really to stick it to Cubby Broccoli, who on the Carson show by this point, he called the worst Bond villain of all time. We got nothing. Like, we're done. We've talked about this movie.
Again, Sean Connery was the best part of this movie, and they kind of acknowledge the fact that he's aging.
Yeah.
Because the first, quarter of the movie is at basically M telling Bond, you're too old, you're stuck on desk duty, you're teaching, you're not on active duty. I don't like you. you're reckless, and you're just going to be teaching.
That was a funny line at the beginning when they were talking about too much red meat, dry martinis, and white bread.
He needs to purge his toxins.
Then I shall cut out the white bread.
This is going to be just warning.
This is going to be a bunch of bad Sean Connery impersonations.
And M sends Bond to a rehabilitation
Shrub Hill? Was that what it was called?
Shrub Hill or Scrub Hill. Basically,
No scrubs, guys.
We need to get you in better health because he failed a couple of training missions because I guess he's getting sloppy.
He got stabbed by a woman that had just been laid out on the bed, and that's the cold open, isn't it? That training mission where they couldn't afford,
which is a pretty good cold open as things go.
It was fine.
Yeah,
You just killed James Bond. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like, you were kind of throwing out there, like, the whole idea is that we actually have a pretty good opening sequence, frankly. It's very much like we actually refer to
like
the fact...
From Russia with Love, really.
Very much like From Russia with Love, and he's jumping around. This movie actually also reminded me a lot more of Archer than I expected. Like, no, I mean, just honestly. Also, the fact that the woman stabbed him... Nothing to do with how in shape he was. She just kind of stabbed him.
Yeah. I love those
that,
bad toxins.
I love how that was part of the training mission where it's a woman that's just been placed on the bed for him. Is that this is a normal part of the operating procedure for double O's. At some point, you will have to snog.
He frees her, turns his eyes away to go deal with something. She pulls out a knife and stabs him.
That looked like a very real knife. How exactly did he not get stabbed?
I'm guessing it was a fake knife. Because actually, we were commenting during the action sequences, they couldn't afford squibs for the guns.
And Sean was clearly wearing Converses during this training mission.
And it turns out it is a training mission. Because we don't find out until after he's killed that it is a training mission.
I did think that was kind of funny, as though they were like, maybe they were referencing a previous Bond movie and how bad the squib effects were, but like, no, there was nothing. People just fell down and screamed.
Not even blanks. It's just
I did like some of the gadgets he kind of had, like the Nerf screamer like disc that he threw to get the guards' attention, and like the explosives. But then, it's interesting because we talked about how in the last movie, in Octopussy, it seemed like Q was excited that Bond may have died. Oh, it's a pity they missed stabbing you to death, 007. Like here, everyone wants Bond dead. Literally, M is trying. What was the Algernon? Q.
He's finally given an actual name beyond Q.
Yeah.
And he talks like Michael Caine.
Well, he's also Major Boothroyd in the normal movies.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he's Algernon Boothroyd?
Possibly.
Maybe?
I do like the idea.
Boothroyd. Major Boothroyd.
Major Boothroyd.
That sounds painful. That just sounds painful.
That's why they call him Q.
That's what they accuse him. Yeah.
And actually, I liked the Q scene. It was more grungy. Like, it looked like he was in a machine shop.
Yeah.
And he was definitely more Cockney, very Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And
you are going to love this.
Yeah, he seemed more like a guy who was elbow deep in grease, creating things, than Q ever did.
Which, I guess, to it, is very much like Empire Strikes Back versus Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's gritty. It's like they're in a cave when they start off with, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it does even make fun of other Bond movies the more you think about it. Like, we've already had, Roger Moore fly in the giant Union Jack parachute, and here he has the giant pen with the Union Jack. Like, it's nothing is subtle here, which, again, enjoyable. Algernon as the Q type. I mean, they even do like a Vicks Vapo thing, joke.
What does this thing do? That helps with my inhaling.
That's like a sinus.
Oh, the thing that looked like a tampon?
Yeah.
Which Madison immediately reminded us was for ecstasy.
Yeah.
Medical professional. Yeah. But okay, here's the thing, guys. If you've seen Thunderball, imagine a marginally better than that, but not an excellently better than that.
I still have not seen Thunderball.
You're not missing much. You saw the good version. It's okay.
Oh, that's the good version? That was the good version?
We're halfway through. We pause it to say how much longer does this have, and it's only halfway through.
Although here we got 2/3. That's the difference.
Yeah.
I will say the theme from Thunderball is better with Tom Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Thunderball.
Yeah.
That was a good theme. I've heard the theme.
Was both forgettable and annoying.
There wasn't even a title sequence. There was no nude dancing or anything.
Although you could see most of Kim Basinger's boobs through that top.
And you got Fatima
you got
Blush.
the nipple shot. Yeah. The nipple shot when she was taking off that that bikini.
Mm-hmm. You got your girly fixation.
Just girly,
especially when she's water skiing with all those ridiculous poses that exist just for her to spread her legs open. I'm like, is that recreation? Is that what women normally do during recreation?
Well, to be fair, it was the 80s. Like, the jazzercise looked familiar.
Is that okay? Is that what your wife does?
Oh, all the
to
time.
relax?
Yeah,
Oh.
totally. All the
All
time.
right.
Yeah.
Never say never again. There's like so little. There's, on one hand, there's way too much to this plot. On the other hand, there's nothing to this plot. So we should skip a little bit.
We've been kind of jumping around.
Well, but we should talk about a couple scenes here. Like, after the training sequence where M aspholically just says, "Bond, you're fat and filled with free radicals." Moneypenny looks mildly worried, although that's actually a good gag.
Moneypenny was in this movie.
Sort of.
Looking
Yeah.
almost as frumpy as she normally does.
But much younger. It's not Lois Maxwell. It's someone who never acted again, I would guess.
Well, she did a bad job in this. That's why. Oh, James, do you have a new mission?
Yes, to get rid of all free radicals. Oh, James, be careful.
Do be careful. This is like Kristen Stewart level of acting. That was what this Moneypenny
Or,
was.
dare I say it, Kim Basinger level of acting.
Yeah.
That's an insult to Kim Basinger. Let's not go that far.
I think a plank of wood would have performed just as well in this movie.
So we should get to the actual little bit of the plot. This is one of those weird ones where Bond stumbles onto the plot, right? Because he's sent to this.
That's really every Bond movie.
Well, but he's not even given a
He's
mission
not
here.
even given a mission.
He's intentionally said,
Well, once the nukes are stolen, he is.
right. But by that point, he's
That's
actually
halfway through the
figured
movie,
out half
yeah.
the movie, right? Like, this is a weird one because
Yeah, that bothered me. That okay, so Kim Basinger's brother,
James.
he's a Navy pilot, or Navy officer, Air Force officer.
Air
Sorry,
Force.
U.S. Air Force.
Air
officer.
Force.
And he's doing something with the nukes. And Spectre has corrupted him. They've got him hooked on heroin. And because they're feeding him heroin, they've replaced one of his eyes with a copy of the president's eye.
The
Yes.
one with that huge pupil?
Yeah, the huge pupil, which looks totally convincing.
Yeah. No.
which, as I recall, they hit under a fake contact, right? So it looked like his regular eye.
I was under the impression that was like a skeleton key eye that could fool any retina scanner. That was supposed to just
It was supposed to be the president because only the president's eye can release a nuke or turn on a nuke or whatever it is.
Who knew that Ronald Reagan had such sweet baby blues, man?
Yeah, really. I guess this was the 80s.
Yeah, this is 83.
Yeah, that was right.
Well, I was born with these pupils this size.
I lost an eye? Huh. Okay.
You think I would have noticed such a thing, Mommy?
It was that damn John Hinckley. He did this to me.
So the U.S. is doing a training mission with a couple of dummy nukes, and Kim Basinger's brother does a double switch where he uses the president eye thing to get through the security and have real nukes put in these training missiles, which then, quote unquote, go missing. And Spectre picks them up.
Right. Yeah.
Spectre issues the ultimatum. We have these nukes to, I'm guessing, the UN, the random room filled with
Ethnic types.
ethnic people, and they say, give us 25% of the world's oil revenue, or we'll blow them up.
Do you have any interest to talk about Bond's sequence where he's in the clinic?
Oh, and he's like in that tracksuit trying to make sweet love to the nurse.
Significantly less rapey than the Thunderball version.
Yeah.
Where he literally goes, I won't tell anyone if you bang me. Like, which is weird.
I mean, yeah, there was a lot less
Rape.
rapey scenes in this. It more consensual.
I did kind of like the fight with the muscle in the clinic where it ends where Bond throws his urine sample in his face and that somehow blinds him.
Oh my God. And the
Yeah.
guy gets gored to death on some test tubes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was that one that was like as big as my fist that was just
Like it went
right
through
in the
his
back of him.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I thought that scene went on way too long.
Oh, yeah. You mean the fact that he had a bladed spring that cut through like metal pans?
Didn't he just pull that off the that what's that exercise machine that
Fantasy exercise.
yeah, we all of course
The
are
Exercise 3000.
we're all well versed here in gym equipment because we're there all the time, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So I had a thought. Sean Connery, we saw in the bonus features, was Mr. Universe 1949, right?
I knew he used to be
40 years before this?
Yeah.
I knew he used to be like a model at the art school in Edinburgh.
33. Yeah, no, 33 years earlier was Mr. Universe. Does that mean that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be like a Bond? It'd be great if he was like a German agent, like some aging, like, because frankly, of all those types of, I guess, 80s fading heroes, I kind of find him funny. Like,
Could you see like a James Bond version of Expendables
Oh man, all of them all show up.
All of them show up, and a lot of the old villains show up.
And then have someone like that's like a tongue-in-cheek kind of joke, like
kind of like the Five Doctors, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Well, Sean Connery wouldn't do it, and Roger Moore would just look sad.
I think they'd all look fairly sad.
I think Sean Connery would do it if it was not produced by the Broccoli.
Yeah. It would have to be like a tongue-in-cheek kind of Austin Powers thing, I think.
Well, did you see League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? That was the saddest goddamn action movie I've ever seen.
What was the last thing he did?
That was it.
He hasn't done anything
That was it?
since.
He did like 2 voice works on some Scottish animated
That was in like
movie.
the early 90s, wasn't it?
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That was
Late 90s.
2003.
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I saw that in
It's still
theaters.
13 years ago.
I saw that in theaters, and that was a
could've done with that.
mistake.
To be fair, he did it because he turned down The Matrix, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, and he was embarrassed.
Sean Connery in The Matrix?
He was supposed to
Yeah.
be Morpheus.
Oh, my God.
That was the first pitch.
Wow.
He was also supposed to be Gandalf, I believe, originally, and he
Yeah.
turned that down.
He's got a history of turning down successful franchises.
And then he did the Avengers and the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
He turned down them as well?
He did them.
He did the Avengers?
The one in the late 90s.
Sorry, the English Avengers.
Yeah, the English one.
That's a stay tuned, guys, because
No.
it's half myopia, half mission briefing crossover.
Oh, boy.
Who's the guy in it?
Ray Fiennes.
Ray
It was
Fiennes,
Ray
that's
Fiennes
right.
and Uma
The
Thurman.
day that Uma Thurman and Ray Fiennes are the same height, it's a cold day in hell. He was on all the Apple boxes.
They are kind of the same height, aren't they?
No, she's like over
really
6
tall.
feet, and he makes
5 foot.
Tom Cruise look like a bestie.
I'm going to look this up right now.
because on the
that's-
IMDb Tribune.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
am.
Wikipedia might be more honest.
All right.
His nose is taller than she is. Try that again.
This is how much we
Because
enjoy
Daniel
this movie.
Craig's not that tall.
Yeah, he's 5'10". So no, he's like the shortest Bond ever.
Yes, but Rafe is shorter than he is, isn't he?
No.
No, he looks
We're
tall.
looking it up. We're
It's hard
looking
to
it
tell
up.
with magic of Hollywood.
Magic of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And his like cesarean nose, like an
played-
Aquiline. It's an Aquiline nose. Yes.
Okay, he is 5'11". apparently.
Bullshit.
That's what it's
Is
saying.
that Wikipedia or IMDb?
I just typed in Ray Fiennes' height onto Google, and that's
And
what
this is
came up.
Ray Fiennes fan.
I still want the Bond movie where one of them has to track down rogue former 00 agents. Like,
That'd be fun. Yeah.
I mean, but that's just what you almost have to do at this point. And again, especially if it was non-Eon, because then,
All right, and Uma Thurman. Can I get a drum roll or something?
is it 5'11 and a half?
It's 5'11" even. They're the same height. They're the same height.
Bullshit.
but she's probably going to be in heels.
Probably.
So
Oh, and she's
6
in
foot
cat
something.
suits that whole movie. You want to
Yeah.
talk? And apparently, that
She
mean,
didn't
Daniel's
pull off
eyebrows
the
went
heel.
so far up when I said cat suit the whole movie.
I'm just
Well,
looking at
set up
pictures
heel.
of Diana Rigg in cat suits now because
Yeah.
that's a thing that needs
Who
to
replaced
happen.
Diana Rigg? Because she was the first one. That was,
she was the one who left
that was
for
one
Bond
after-
movie.
Yeah. She was in. What was she in?
Never say never again.
No.
Oh, which one was which
Diana
Bond movie?
Rigg was. That was one of the Sean Connery ones, wasn't it?
It was.
Was it Diamonds Are Forever?
No.
No.
Daniel, Google faster. God damn it.
You can only stall for so long.
I'm googling. Hold up.
The reason I want to do the Avengers though is
It
because
was on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh, okay, that would
yes,
make
she
sense.
was Mrs. Bond. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one to give up the Avengers
She's on
for,
Game
right?
of Thrones now.
Yes, she is.
Jeremy would kill you for saying that because he really liked that one. I don't know. I think it's better if you don't see the other Bond movies because it's a summary of all the Sean Connery movies to that point.
It just feels dated. I mean, it really does feel like, oh, it's still 1967. We're going to make a Bond movie, but it's 1983.
And since,
Yeah.
of course, George Lazenby is an Aussie, is he an Aussie?
Yeah, he's Aussie.
Yeah.
That's why he deserved to wear a kilt when Sean could never wear one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sean Connery, let's talk about another movie he's in, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, no.
No,
We're missing the best part about this movie.
Yeah?
Never say never.
When he nearly gets crushed by the weight machine.
No. Mr.
was-
Bean.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so if you thought that Felix Leiter has been bad in some of these movies, like in Live and Let Die, where he's wearing the pink pointed sunglasses, that's bad. Felix in this is awesome.
He's a black dude again,
Yeah,
which is
he's great.
That's the most perfect thing
He's
you
a
can do for Felix
competent
Leiter.
person.
Yes, he is.
And
Unlike-
he actually shows up at the right point with the shortest of shorts.
Well, he also throws random fruit at Bond and that French girl as they're walking out the airport.
That's true.
And he freaking catches it.
Yeah.
Which is a scene right out of A League of Their Own. But Rowan Atkinson shows up as the field agent in Nassau.
Nassau.
Yeah, the Bahamas.
Because when you want a local agent in Nassau, you don't think of a black woman in an afro like we had in Live and Let Die. You think of Rowan Atkinson, who's blending in with the columns. And you think I'm making a joke, but like a Muppet, he peers around corners like someone out of it. Well, I was thinking of the Home Star Runner sketch when they do Peasant's Quest, the movie trailer. That's a thing that happened in this movie. He is the ugliest man ever, as Madison reminded us.
Yeah. I mean, he just looks so awkwardly British, like quintessentially
Yeah.
British.
Yeah.
You know,
And it works in Mr. Bean because I guess he's
works.
a little bit older,
It works in Blackadder, too.
but he's very young in this.
and the other thing they should have done, like a Mr. Bean sketch, made him wear awkwarder clothing. He dressed as Sean Connery, like he's wearing the
It's
same
white
suit and
slight-
tie.
The same white suit.
Yeah.
The thing is, I want to guess, and this is just me spitballing here, is the reason they hired John Cleese as R by the end of the Pierce years,
Oh, yeah.
which is also awkward, but John Cleese is funny here. Rowan Atkinson is just like, Sean doesn't even acknowledge him.
Well, Rowan
he's
Atkinson wasn't even
nothing.
established. Did
guess
Mr.
not,
Bean
no.
even exist?
I don't
at this
think
No,
point?
this is Blackadder years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe the first season.
You know who would have
Maybe
been better
very
if
early.
that's what they were going to go for? Hugh Laurie. A young Hugh
yeah,
Laurie.
He would have been good.
or Fry.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, Fry is a better actor to begin with.
It would have been great if they were a two-hander. Like, you know, like
Mr.
it was.
Kid, Mr. Win.
Yeah, I know exactly. But they show up. Oh,
that would've been
you're Bond. I
fantastic.
love you, Mr. Bond. You're my favorite.
Well, I think that would have been actually pretty funny for Mr. Bean's character, Rowan Atkinson's character, if he blatantly said, "You're my hero."
Yes.
And I'm trying to be like you. And so he's dressing the same, he's trying to act the same, but he's incompetent at it.
yeah.
My call number is just 07. I'm not a 00 agent yet, but I want to be a 00 agent so bad, Mr. Bond.
It really precludes whatever that spy movie he was in,
Johnny English.
Johnny English.
Yeah, no, we'll get to it because, you know, there's conspiracy theories abound from James Bonding, among others, that Purvis and Wade are the reason that so many of the Pierce movies are awkward, but they wrote Johnny English when they almost lost the contract for Die Another Day.
I know.
But their sense of humor is a little bit awkward. It works
Much
better
like
with
Mr. Bean.
Yes, much like Mr. Bean.
Well, I mean, Mr. Bean is just Monsieur Hulot as
Yeah.
a British person.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of, Peter Sellers should have been in one of these movies eventually if you needed a goofy sidekick.
He was in Casino Royale, that shitty parody. from
Which
the
is
late
why they were
60s.
blackballed.
Yeah.
Because that was Given.
Peter Gibbon. No,
Niven? You mean?
David Niven.
David Niven. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm going to just say names, and then hopefully one of the two of you will remember what I meant.
Daniel's much better at filling in those gaps.
That's why Jeremy just needs to be here. He won't say anything the whole time, just be like,
correcting things.
"You're wrong," and then he's like, "All right, fine." Thanks, Jeremy.
And we'll just say, well, you're right. Okay.
Where are we at this movie? Are we still at Scrub Hill when he fights the
don't know.
muscle?
We're
and
I mean,
Jack.
frankly, that's the scene that made me laugh the most because,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, except for the fact that he almost rapes Kim Basinger when he's massaging her and pretending he's someone else.
Before that is the most awkward scene ever, which might have come right after Scrub Hill, where Largo is just walking into his base or whatever, and he turns on like a few on that most 80st of keyboards,
Yeah,
and then he
no.
opens up the dance studio where
It's a one-way mirror.
It's a
or
one-
two-way
yeah.
mirror.
I think
One-way
it's-
mirror.
The one-way mirror is just when the mirror's looking back at you. Two ways when someone else
you
is
can look
looking at you
through
too.
it. Yeah.
Two people can look at you at
So
once.
he's watching her dance.
with that guy whom we never learn who that
Dance
is.
instructor, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
He's a crotch model.
Yeah. That's pretty much why he was hired for that scene.
And we learned a new term today.
Yeah, we were comparing the cleavage between the two of them, Kim Basinger and Crotch Man,
Yeah.
with the power to crotch.
Oh, God.
Whackity schmackity doo.
Power to crotch. All right.
Well, at some point, we're
Hurry, Crotch Man! We need someone to interrupt this scene.
we're also introduced to Fatima Blush.
Oh, yeah.
Who is
Who's
the
number
henchman.
12?
Yeah, she's number 12 Inspector, and she's the henchman in this.
We've explained how Spectre works in like the past, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
but
There's number 1, number 2, number 3.
Oh,
And
well-
there's Blofeld as, I guess.
Number one.
no. Well,
I don't think he is number 1. I think he's just the head.
Well, that would make him number one.
Because I thought he said there was number one. Number one is Largo.
Okay, now, no. Gentlemen, we have a game right now because I'm looking at the answer key and I couldn't possibly. I want you guys to guess what Spectre stands for because we get it in full in this movie.
Oh.
And we get it twice. And in fact, at one point, Blofeld even says, gentlemen, that's the blank and blank inspector. We're going to also, if you don't pay us, we're also going to get the blank inspector. So, Daniel, can you give me Spectre?
What Spectre stands for?
Yes.
No.
This is also the stupidest acronym ever. It's also spelled, I hope one of you can remember. Okay, good.
Spectre.
I was going to say it's spelled the proper English way.
Yeah.
Now, do you think we should spell it like an American?
I remember it in Dr. No when they explained it for the first time.
I know that the CTR is like counter-espionage, terrorism, and revenge.
No.
I know
Terrorism
and revenge.
Terrorism and revenge, there's two of them.
Oh.
Now, do you suppose?
One of the E's is extortion.
It sure is. That's the last one.
Oh, okay. So it's the Society Politique et CTRE.
What is it, Nick?
Oh no, Daniel, I wanted to give you a sign. First of all, I'll give you a hint. Spectre, the S and the P are the same word, so it's already cheating. It's special.
Oh.
Special.
Say it like your most offensively English person ever, because Max von Sydow is here. Now, I'd say M is the most horrifyingly English person. Now, you see, David 7, you've been a little bit chunky and you are filled with free radicals.
At least Bernard Lee had some gravitas.
Yeah.
This guy's just like...
All right, it's
pinky
you.
in the brain.
Yeah, no. Now you see, it's...
I can try and do it.
Please.
Sean Connery, bad Sean Connery impersonation. Well, it stands for Special Education of Children. Types.
Terrorism, revenge, and extortion.
Terrorism, revenge, and extortion.
The only reason I just think of Paul F. Tompkins or someone going, now you see 007, it's special executive for counterintelligence. Shouldn't 4 be one of the letters? No, it doesn't fit with the whole Spectre theme, 007. It's the special executive for counterintelligence, terrorism, revenge, and extortion.
That's a thing that exists.
That's
thing,
and it's a thing that exists, and they bring it up
How long was
twice.
this acronym in committee, good sir?
Well, you see, 007.
It changes every few months. The committee keeps changing his mind.
I get the feeling that Ernesto Blofeld came up with it, and then anyone who giggled halfway through, he just shot, and he's like, now you're number 3, you've been promoted.
Because that's how this works.
Well, it's almost like a 12-year-old came up with it, really.
Well, and
Like,
again...
why is SP special?
There's something else you could have used it.
Anything else, really?
Because, again, I get it. Spectre, because it's kind of communism, right? There's a specter, etc., haunting
and it's
Europe.
all hidden and junk.
There's a specter haunting Europe, and
sounds
it's Spectre.
Devious.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So basically, they don't need to call Bond. They need to call the Ghostbusters.
So, who is one going to call? I say one calls the Ghostbusters! Which is 2 years from now. 85 is the first Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
84, wasn't it?
Maybe even.
Yeah.
I like the idea that Dan Aykroyd, fresh off some blows, like, my God, they cut us.
So
Because busting makes him feel good.
like 2 scenes, and it's Max von Sydow, which
He was a good Blofeld.
He was good, but he was so underused.
Yeah.
Like he's in the UN scene when they're explaining the demands, and it's a close up on whatever Blofeld's cat's name was the entire time. And then
Pussy
there's
galore.
Mr. Sprinkles.
and then there's that scene where he's talking to Fatima Blush, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Fatima.
Fatima. Yeah.
Go on. No, I'm just.
And that's
I'll
it.
correct you all you want,
And
but
that's the only scenes that
Honestly,
I
I
recall him being
think
in.
the actual, I don't know, the earlier James Bond movies did it better, like From Russia with Love, where you don't actually see Blofeld's face. You just hear his voice. So he's more of a menacing figure.
Wasn't Charles Gray Blofeld at one point?
well, and actually, earlier, with the exception of Terry Savalas. From On Her Majesty's Secret Service. For the most part, it was previous actors who would just show back up. You know, someone who was...
Because wasn't it like, it was Felix Leiter or someone like that?
Yeah, Felix was on
From
one, yeah.
Dr. No was Blofeld in From Russia with Love.
No.
Like he was either the voice or the character, but you didn't see his face, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And you just had the kind of, baritone voiced man going,
Yes.
Where like literally in fact, the one right before On Her Majesty's Secret Service. No, actually, I was thinking of From Russia with
You
Love.
Only Live Twice? Was that the
Yeah,
one?
well, I mean, maybe that was one I was thinking of, where literally it's a guy in the chair with the cat, and then half a wall is in front of his face. Like, it's not even subtle. It's not even like From Russia with Love, where he's just filmed from behind the whole time.
Wait a minute. Dr. Claw was meant to be Blofeld?
Oh, wow.
That's a hell of a crossover. If it's a Welker. Frank Welker.
Frank Welker, yeah.
We'll get you, Mr. Bond. I mean, come on.
You and your little dog, too.
And he voices the cat, of course, because if it's a Frank Welker piece, he has to have at least 30 credits.
Yeah.
That man is richer than God, right?
He must be. Yeah. Except unless he's being paid like 25 cents a word. In which case he's
but if he's
poor.
also voicing cats.
Well, meow. Yeah, that's one word.
Wasn't he the voice of the raptors in Jurassic Park?
It's like the Simpsons thing from Wile E. Coyote. That
Yes.
Yeah.
Homer meets the voice of the Roadrunners. And it's beep beep. Well, no, it's actually just beep, and they played it twice because they didn't want to pay me twice.
Bastards.
I know he was a Boo in Aladdin. That must have been a...
Well, he was everything.
Yeah, no, I mean,
He really
again,
was everything.
you look up something like the real Ghostbusters, he's probably Egon and Slimer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, probably. He was Slimer, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it's just like,
Probably, yeah.
like it just.
I like how we really are talking about everything other than this movie because there's nothing to talk about in this movie.
We are...
Well, and
We
trust
covered
me,
it with
we are
Thunderball and previous
completely off
movies.
course.
I mean, and once we're done, I'll never see Never Again. Like,
Yeah.
I like what you did there, sir.
yeah.
I mean,
All right.
The Shrub Hill wasn't a bad scene. That was decent.
The first act was pretty good.
And I liked how they kind of dealt with Bond being a little aging by
and
saying
doesn't
you
he
need to get
say
back into
threaten
fit.
to retire? Or,
Yeah,
like
something like
Well,
that.
and they're essentially forcing him out. Like,
Yeah.
And I think, if I recall correctly, he's called back into service because, like every Star Trek movie ever, he's the closest agent who's available at the time, which makes sense. Like, he's dealing with Spectre. It's his last call, which, if anything, is a problem with the Roger Moore movies where they just literally shove Blofeld out a window at one point in a wheelchair. Which, I mean, what we're thinking more about the handicap. We should be more sensitive nowadays. But
Yes.
Roger Moore and his wide lapels didn't give a shit for the handicap.
No.
That's because he could fly on those things. No one else
How does Bond get to Nassau again? Because that was a big... I know he's going there to try and track down Largo, and that's where Miss Blush, in that water skiing scene, first runs into him.
How does he end up in?
Is that when he gets the official mission and says, go find Largo? He's in Nassau?
Yeah, as I
think
recall.
so.
Yeah,
How
no.
do we get into Largo?
Well, I could tell
We
you,
literally
shunny
could
boy,
not be bothered.
I could tell you, shunny boy, but that would be telling. And a gentleman does not tell.
You. I'm going to stop you eventually, but I have nothing better, so.
Yeah.
Stop me from doing my bad Sean Connery?
I have no
That's
idea how
fair.
he gets to the Bahamas.
Never do Sean Connery again.
All right.
And I know
fair
he gets to France because he follows Largo to
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it in France that the video game scene
Yes.
happens? All right.
Yeah. So Largo is having a charity
fundraiser.
thing for orphan children.
First, Bond abuses the hell out of that doorman with that cigarette case.
Okay, well, we need to get to here because, like, the whole thing is that no one believes Bond the whole time because Largo is a very clean-cut fundraising guy. However,
He does talk like a Ted Bundy figure. Though.
he looks like a
Acts
fucking
like a
serial
Ted Bundy
killer.
character.
He's a horrifying individual.
Individual? What is an
Individual.
individual?
Because he's English, so you have to pronounce things wrong.
Okay.
I have a question for you, though. How do you think the fight scenes looked? Was Sean Connery really throwing people around? Like the gym scene we talked about already.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Better than Roger Moore.
I liked them because Sean Connery was actually, there was a danger he'd get his butt kicked.
So,
point.
I agree with you. You know why they look so good? Guess who choreographed this fight scene?
The person that did like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Steven Seagal.
Oh.
And he was so rough on Sean Connery, apparently they had to stop production for 3 months because he broke Sean's wrist during a practice.
Steven Seagal.
That was revealed on the
Fat
Jay Leno
guy who
show.
thinks he's a SWAT team member.
Yeah.
No, that he claims that the Dalai Lama said he was a reincarnated llama as well.
Oh boy. No, Mr. Seagal, you were not.
You know,
No.
I would like to say that the Dalai Lama told me I was a llama. That's why I don't believe in fighting anymore.
You just believe in running a tank through a school to scare all the children, isn't that right?
Yeah.
What movie was that?
That wasn't a movie. That was his TV.
That was real
show.
life. In a movie, he
was
also
not a
throws a
movie.
fat kid in front of a firing squad. We were going to end up doing some different on the other podcast. On the main feed, we have to do some of that because that movie is a lot of the Under Siege movie. The first one especially is a lot of fun.
I have never seen a Steven Seagal movie except
Oh, you're
Machete.
missing out.
I have seen Machete.
Okay, that doesn't count.
That doesn't count? Okay.
No, that's fun.
That doesn't count.
Sean Connery in this is as good as he is in.
Now I kind of wish
That's all
to
you need
see
to know,
like
really.
the scenes of Steven Seagal trying to train Sean Connery and just Sean Connery having none of it.
Oh, there is Into Darkness, the way that Apocalypse Now is the documentary. Like there's a documentary here just of like that, of the two of them like, I wish Mr. Universe, I am the llama. And you're just like,
I don't know what you're going on about, Shunny, but you're just fucking crazy.
I would love his final act, right? Like to him trying to kill Steven Seagal and the two fat men out of shape, like because I think 80-year-old Sean Connery could still take Steven Seagal now.
Yeah,
I don't
now
believe in
he could.
fighting anymore because you can't stand up, you fat ass. That's the movie, right?
That would be. Have you done a shit up since 1991?
I took a shit this morning, old man. I don't know what you're saying. Your accent is unintelligible.
But yeah, one of the better scenes of the movie.
I'm not done. Okay.
Yeah, you're done.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
Is when,
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Was Steven Seagal also the dance choreographer for Mr. Crotch?
I love the idea that they hired Jane Fonda. He literally just shoved her out a window. Was like, I'm here for this too. He's wearing a pink tutu. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, he used to wear the same outfit Ken Basinger was wearing.
oh Christ crackers!
All right, so
Okay.
In his masturbation room there.
Yeah.
We watch him in like a. It's not a fuck dungeon because that room requires sexual things. It's just a glowy screen.
It's a dance
It's a porn
studio.
dungeon. No. What Largo's watching from.
Oh.
That's a porn dungeon.
yeah, okay, that is.
Yeah.
And then she's in just like with Crotch Man. Bulge the champion.
Either way, I thought that opening fight scene looked fine. Went on a little long.
I was going to say his name would be He-Man because he's all masculine, but no, that's taken. Their ship is named the Flying Saucer too, which
Yes.
is awful.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
weird.
it is.
Sorry, John, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that one of the best scenes in the movie was basically a throwaway scene. And it's with the bodyguard or the gatekeeper or whatever you want to call him, doorman,
Yeah.
of this charity event.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Bond sucker punches him, pushes him into a closet,
Yeah, the coat room, yeah.
and hands him a device. And Bond says, "This is a bomb. If you move it from where it is right now in your hand, it will go off, killing you. So don't move it. Bye."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he leaves.
Well, then that's the most it's the start to. Again, if this was an elevator pitch and there hadn't been a Bond movie before, this is what you pitch because it's great. Like, it's everything you want in a Bond movie. It's the casino scene. Bond is in a tuxedo. It's a fancy scene. He makes jokes, which he doesn't make a lot of in this movie.
They play gamble.
They play a vicious game of gamble. This is Gamble 3.
Yeah.
There's dice involved. There's money throwing around. There's
This isn't the.
Lasers.
This is, yeah, I was about to say, this isn't that version of like super high stakes Risk that we're talking about, is it?
no. That's how the scene opens.
Oh, yeah.
Like they end up. Okay, so this is the fundraiser that we're alluded to earlier. That's supposed to be something. He's a charitable
It's when
man.
Bond meets Largo.
Yeah.
Right?
And actually, this isn't like there's a spy chasing you. This is the face to face. This is the actual scene. And so, like John's saying, like we have the doorman going, "You're not allowed here." This is after Bond pretends to massage her and is like,
Oh, we totally skipped over that scene where he gives Kim Basinger
sexually
a massage.
assaults her.
Well,
Yeah.
first, I love that bit before they open the massage. She's laying on her back, so he just lifts up her towel and takes a nice good long look.
watches the flip over, and she
Yeah.
turns toward him, which is not what you're supposed to do.
No.
And then you end up with this kind of back and forth scene where she's like, "So, what do you do here?" And she's like, "Well, I'm here with. I came here on the Flying Saucer. Oh, that's Mr. Largo's ship,
ship.
because this is the dumbest name for a boat who's ever existed."
I understand he owns many beautiful things.
Yes, like my vagina. And so we're in town for this charitable fundraiser. Well, I couldn't get in. And she's like, "I wish you could," which is a weird thing to say to your masseuse.
Yep.
Where are you going to dinner? Shh, I'm being massaged. I don't want to hear you talking.
Don't say a word.
No, don't say anything.
Don't
This
say
is
a
not-
word, you 60-year-old Scottish man. Just put your hands on my butt again.
Also, is he the only man in this entire establishment? because he's
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone else there
There's
just
that
gives
nice
him looks.
Yeah, there's that shot beforehand when he's walking through like the spawn. It's all those like 20-year-old women just in various poses.
And at least one is giving him a death stare.
yeah. Well, it was a Madonna music video set that they just had Sean Connery walk through.
Yeah.
But again, to me, this is him literally saying, I'm the best Bond ever, because this is the scene from On Her Majesty's Secret Service where they're all the women, right? And he's not in that movie, right? Like, this is every time well, Sean wasn't there, he's there now, right? Like, this is him kind of being like, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, right? He walks in, he massages her, and the creepiest massage ever, where he's just like touching her, poking her.
Yes.
And then the regular masseuse shows up, and unlike what a normal woman would be like, someone was here touching me, and I'm not okay with that. She's like, oh, James.
It reminded me of that scene from Dunstan Checks In, except Sean Connery is way less hairy than that ape.
Someone actually watched Dunstan Checks In.
Oh,
Stay tuned.
stay tuned. Are you kidding? That scene with Faye Dunaway? And I messed up the punchline. Can I go again?
Please.
It reminds me.
We're not going to edit this out.
It reminds me of that scene in Dunstan Checks In, except Sean is way hairier than that ape.
I was also when you said that, I also thought of Operation Dumbo Drop with is it Danny Glover?
And Ray Liotta, if I recall correctly.
Fresh off of Field of Dreams, he was in Operation Dumbo Drop.
Oh God.
Goodfellas, Field of Dreams, and Operation Dumbo Drop.
What's the rule? You do a safe one, and then you do a risky one?
You think he still calls up Scorsese? I didn't get your Christmas card this year. Can I be in another movie?
No, Ray. This is just getting sad.
Is this Ray Romano? No, the other one. Oh, I'm so sorry. Click. Everyone hates Raymond, man.
Yeah, really. But then we get to the video game.
Oh, yes.
So it's like a mixture of Uncle Fester's Vibration Challenge or whatever that game
I
is
remember
called.
that
Which is
game.
not as fun as you think.
It wasn't actual electricity, though. It was just vibrating really hard.
You can get it at the Hustler store. Go on.
I always assumed that some of the female employees at the arcade were staying after hours.
Remember, type in myopia to adamandeve.com and you're not you won't get any discount, but we should.
But it's basically a game of 3D Risk, like a Virtua Boy version.
Is
of
that
Risk.
what that was?
I guess. Because it
It was more like some weird version of Battleship.
was like a tunnel. Like a 3D tunnel.
Stay on target.
That Exactly. Like you had to shoot at pixels, I guess.
Stay on
triangles or
target.
something in
different things that formed the vague outline of whatever country you were trying to
Yeah.
conquer.
Man, it'd be awkward if someone who directed a Star Wars movie directed this movie. Stay on target.
And the penalty for losing is that the handles or the joysticks get progressively more electrified.
Stay to an electric chair.
And there's actually like a percentage-wise going, it's like 50% pain level danger.
Yeah.
Except it was like 80s computer voice. So it
And then
was,
event.
you
Oh man, you know who should have wandered through a set?
Tron.
No. The guy who killed people, Ferris Bueller.
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick from War Games.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
The only way to win is not to play. It's just like he just
Shall
spikes
we
him.
play a game?
It was the same voice as
Yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
it was the same voice as Burger.
better graphics.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah. More money to throw at it.
And she tries to write okay, so at the end, of course, Bond's losing. They blow up Spain, they blow up France in a demo, they blow up Japan because
Yeah.
Japan hasn't enough nukes on it. And then ultimately they play for the world because the world is not enough. When Bond
That
wins,
so should have been the line.
it should have been.
Yeah.
It was just like in this, in Octopussy when they referenced Property of a Lady, which is another short story. They should have said, "Oh, the world's not enough," which, as I recall, is the crest.
It was the
Yeah, it's
crest
like
from
the Bond
Honor
family.
Majesty's-
The family motto.
family
Yeah.
motto.
And so here, literally, Largo is going to write Bond a check for the $267,000 that Bond won, even though the money's supposed to be going to charity. And so if Bond had lost, he would have had to write the $58,000 check to charity,
It still went to charity because he settled for a dance with Domino.
which anyone who wants to dance with that chud, I mean, I guess is charitable.
Again,
Question mark? I mean, I don't know. Like, there's nothing to it. And then, regardless.
That was a good tango scene. I'm not going to lie.
It's a
Sean
weird
can
tango scene.
dance.
Yeah, they
You
both can.
It's very like Thomas Crown Affair, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost out of place the way they were dancing.
Well,
You're right. No. This is literally, you mean that they reveal plot points during a dance? We should have a dance scene. Like, it's very much a paint by numbers plot scene.
it still worked. I mean, Sean's telling Domino, "Your brother is dead."
Oh,
Yeah.
that was weird.
Yeah, did we miss the scene where he died? What
We
happened?
did, but not really.
Not really.
He gets the nukes. He's on his way out, and Fatima
Kills
throws
him.
a snake in his
His
car,
Yes, yes.
and,
Speaking
and
of incidental comedy,
throws him off the road, and then blows up the car.
Puts a bomb in the car.
Yeah, as you do.
which is a euphemism. I guess. I guess.
I
It's
guess.
not in the
That's
car.
actually what
Yeah,
happened. She
yeah.
threw a literal snake into this gentleman's car.
and then a bomb.
And then he crashed.
I mean, I would like to think it was a metaphor for their love life. Like, there she was expecting some pleasure, and then it was like throwing a snake in a car. But he killed her anyway. Regardless,
I'm just confused by her character. She's the henchman.
Yeah.
She kills people, but she doesn't have a shtick like a lot of the henchmen do. She
you
doesn't,
mean throwing snakes is not a shtick?
because she did that once and then she never did it again.
I thought her shtick was her hammer pants at the end.
Oh
Those were quite spectacular.
Her outfits were.
Yeah.
I
that was her
expected Thomas
thing, yeah.
Dolby to play whenever she showed up on screen. I will say, I was kind of curious about her motivation. Because she kept coming on to number 2. Moving on. I have expected her to be trying to move up. Like, I almost expected
trying to kill number 2.
Right. I expected a plot on him by her as a power play, and then Sean Connery to come in and try to pick sides, almost like play them off each other.
a better movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it after the tango scene that we get the whole Bond versus Fatima?
Right, because he comes home, I guess, to where he and Felix and the female agent are staying.
Mm-hmm.
He finds the female agent dead. Fatima is running away. They get a car chase.
Right.
And she corners him, has him at gunpoint, and says, "You tell the world that I'm the best lay you ever had."
Well, there was that girl from
that was a hell of a
Philadelphia.
scene.
yes, she was really
And she
insistent
just
on
threw
that.
like a scrap of newspaper at him.
Write
I
it
want you to
down.
write this down. And that's where the pen comes back.
Right.
the like what one
The-
of 2 Q gadgets,
I think it was the only one because he had the motorcycle.
and he had the watch laser.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, the watch laser.
So he has this exploding pen that shoots like a rocket dart or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's writing. He's like, "No, I can't do that because strict policy. We can't give endorsements." And then
That's a hell of a line.
and then he shoots her with the pen, which doesn't go off immediately. She shoots him or shoots at him, misses.
I thought she was just laughing.
Is about to take a second. I mean, if you just got shot by a pen, I don't know if you'd be laughing.
Well, she was
really.
bleeding and
Yeah.
she was laughing
Oh,
because it didn't
But then
kill
it
her.
goes off.
But then
Yeah.
it goes off.
And she
which is great. And then she blows up again like a Monty Python sketch. Like there's nothing left, and like there's just flaming shards.
we do get a scene. I'm pretty sure there was a shot of her like smoldering heels.
Yes.
That was it.
And then Felix shows back up and he goes, "Felix, where were you?" And he goes, "I was here for a bit." And you're just like,
Thanks, Felix.
Yeah, thank you.
Because all those clothes that she was wearing went up in smoke.
Oh yeah.
Super flammable.
I'm actually surprised they didn't melt.
Well, it'd be great if there were just, this is an Austin Powers bit, but I would just love if there were like implants just left smoldering somewhere. The other shame though, I mean, I guess since it's not an official Bond, there was no really, like, there was no Aston Martin, there was no,
He drives a Bentley.
a Bentley 4.25 liter, a 1937.
Yeah.
Nice car.
It's
was a
beautiful.
nice car.
I mean, and there's a Camaro in there at one point that what's her name is driving, and
And
there's
the motorcycle.
there's a motorcycle which clearly Sean Connery was not driving. But whatever. And there's also at one point a BMW 7 Series back in the day, which is good. I don't know, but it's a car. It's a gadgetless movie. It's the pendulum swinging the other way. It's where there's almost nothing. Though I will say the watch laser coming out of the buckle this time reminds me of GoldenEye, which
Absolutely.
it's a perfectly useful, good kind of gadget.
It's very low key, low budget, useful.
Useful, good effect.
Minimalist kind of thing. It's not like some of his gadgets, like, oh, it's a suitcase that turns into a helicopter.
Yeah.
Well, no, this will get you out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, it's useful. It's Sean Connery having things to deal with, which I kind of appreciated. I don't know. There's some weird scenes left.
How do we get to the scene where people are bidding on Kim Basinger?
That's
One
what I was
guy-
thinking.
All right.
So Largo escapes with Kim Basinger to somewhere in North Africa, Palmyra,
Yeah,
yeah.
which I forget how they figure out that's where he's going.
she tells him.
She tells him? Okay.
Yeah.
So they go to Palmyra, where he's got a castle or something.
Yep.
Bond is put in chains in a dungeon
Yep.
And he uses the watch laser to
to get
free
out of
himself.
the chains. Meanwhile, Kim Basinger is up for auction with the locals, who are Arabs.
That guy really needed to button his shirt. I'm sorry.
Sean Connery?
The gentleman that was taking bids and his
That's a
beard
double
guts,
standard against fat people.
Yeah, that's fat shaming. That was a fat shaming scene right there.
It's a cigar. It's okay.
It's a scene that's out of an Indiana Jones movie, which we talked about a lot in Octopussy.
Actually,
anyway.
the remainder of this film is largely, you could interchange it with Indiana Jones, and
Yeah.
it would work pretty well. Because we're in an ancient temple with like a bomb going through it. It's like
very
shootout.
Moonraker again.
Yeah.
We really should have just watched Last Crusade at this point. We
Better
would have
Bond
gone
movie.
Yeah, better Bond movie. Yeah.
with Sean Connery in it too.
Yep. Well, I mean, it just reminds you of how many things they had to cobble together to make this a movie, right? Because like the way we get here is that, I mean, they're on the boat, the flying saucer, which Sean Connery ends up because question mark, and
There was also a scuba scene
him
at
and
some
Felix
point.
break into it, don't they? And then Felix just disappears.
Yeah.
And then Sean Connery ends up stuck there, and then he's just a welcome guest, kind of,
Yeah.
sort of. And then he makes out with Domino.
Despite killing the henchman, he's somehow welcomed with open arms, like we get in so many other Bond movies. Like, well, lunch is at noon.
Yeah.
Make sure you're ready. Your rooms are in the front.
It's so funny that, like, when we did Thunderball for the podcast, we complained about how 45 minutes was underwater and added nothing to the plot. Here, the scenes that aren't underwater add nothing to the plot. And underwater, I mean, things are happening kind of,
Pretty
but
quick. Yeah.
it's very quick. But it does, like,
It doesn't add
the
anything.
movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Star Wars can explain a religion in 2 hours, man. This movie couldn't explain a plot in 20 minutes.
Well, it did. That's the problem. And then it kept going back over it again and again. It was pretty much two nukes, world's about to blow up.
And they disarm one nuke completely off camera just by someone telling us.
And of all things, I'm going to make a comparison to something that should never be compared to, but
If you compare this to Star Wars,
no. Even though Irvin Kershner directed
I know.
it. I was thinking of a shittier movie, but does it better. The Sum of All Fears.
Ooh.
The reason I bring it up
Okay.
is someone has stolen a nuke, is threatening to blow up, and a spy, Jack Ryan played by Ben Affleck, has to find it. Like, that's what this movie should have been.
Yeah.
Like,
Except in that, we get a nice, good nuke blowing up scene.
and then there's still terror afterwards. They still raise the stakes. Here, the first bomb under DC is detonated. We don't see it. Right? Like, there's nothing.
well, no, I mean, they disarm it,
and we just get it. It's
someone says, "Hey, we found the first one. It's been disarmed."
the worst case of show don't
Okay.
tell ever.
Yeah.
Right?
I think because Bond is in the shower with Kim Basinger, and someone or M says over the radio or something like that, "We found it. Good job."
The first nuclear weapon has been like. I can't imagine stretching this 10 minutes longer, but like it's amazing how
Of all the things to not show. I mean,
right, like and again, there's no drama.
No.
Nothing happens, and we end up with one of the most crucial parts of the plot, literally disarmed.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of two. Yeah.
Again, when there's some like when that would be the interesting because they've even done it in the last couple movies where Roger Moore is there disarming a nuclear weapon with seconds to spare, which is a stupid way to introduce a clock to a movie, and yet as it's like literally seconds away from being disarmed, it goes off. That's the ticking clock. Here it's almost like if Sean Connery doesn't have a drink or have sex in the next 10 minutes, he might die.
You know what? That would be a hell of a Sean Connery revival if it was like Crank. You have to have a drink or sleep with a woman every 10 minutes or
Oh my
you will
god.
die.
Russo brothers, are you listening?
Yes.
Wow.
Crank 3, Sean Connery as Bond, like my
Or even just Sean Connery as himself.
Yeah.
directing
Yeah.
him with a GoPro strapped to his chest like that horrible movie we've been seeing trailers for. What's the movie? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Yeah.
Hardcore Henry?
Hardcore
yeah,
Henry.
yeah.
Sean Connery is Hardcore Henry, just like, oh shit, if it's not another 10 minutes before I get a martini, I'm gonna die. Like, oh man.
So just stay at the bar.
That would have been a hell of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, you remember, I think I've mentioned this before, the guy who made that Power Rangers fan film with Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. Do you remember
Was that the gritty one?
Yeah, the real gritty one.
Yeah, it's like it was just an extended trailer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was an actual short film that ends when I I think they revealed the villain to be like a disguised Rita or something.
Yes.
Okay. He made like a storyboarded one of Sean Connery as a retired 00 taking on like assassination missions just so he could still feel alive because it was so ingrained to him.
Oh, wow.
That should have been this movie. Yeah. That would have been so
That's almost
awesome.
the plot of the Casino Royale parody, isn't it? Because don't they bring Bond back from retirement to train other Bonds?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. And
when
this
Woody
movie,
Allen was one of the Bonds.
Exactly. And this movie kind of tiptoes around it by Bond being near retirement or whatever.
Yeah, that he's essentially teaching people, and he's the only one. M's motivation is terrible in this, but yeah, and they essentially say, you're the only one who can deal with it. And then, are we almost to the end? Because
we mentioned the diffused nuke. We mentioned he has to find the other one, which is in the Middle East somewhere.
We have to go to the temple now.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
because somehow they tracked Largo's boat to the Middle East somewhere
because of her necklace.
Yes.
Well, not even they don't track the boat there because of the necklace. They find the boat in like a bay or something and say, well, why is it just hanging out in the bay? There's nothing there. But wait, there's a necklace. Let's look at the necklace. It's the exact outline of this bay.
The
and
tears
there's a
of Allah,
star somewhere.
The necklace that was given after that Mr. Crotch dance scene that Largo gave to Kim Basinger. Right.
Which, I mean, why the hell do we... I mean, come on. That's the stupidest map ever. They knew where they were going without the map. Why did Largo need to give this map to Kim Basinger?
No, and again,
if it was the launch codes to the nuke, that would make sense.
That would make sense.
But this is just a stupid map.
It's also very much like a villain from like Seven or something, like where there's clues everywhere because he wants to be caught. There's no indication here. Like, because the closest we get is that interaction because he is trying to play like in a Tomorrow Never Dies kind of situation where he's a public figure, so he has to remain public. So Bond shows up at a public event, but he doesn't actually give anything away there, really, And so like the idea that you'd give a plot device to the woman, it makes no sense. It literally makes no sense, right?
Because it has no purpose.
It has no purpose.
Again, it's a map for people who aren't the main bad guys because they don't need the map. In this show, they don't need the map because they don't need her.
I mean, and it's also, I guess, the ego of Kevin McClory thinking he can make more movies. But it'd be great if it was wrong and Bond ruins the world. Right?
That would have been a thing.
It's a map of, let's say it's a map of England, and there's like, but a weird, like a dot near Liverpool or Manchester. And he goes to Manchester looking for the nuke, and it's just like, it's like a Joker plot, and just says, ha, ha, ha. And then all of a sudden the nuke goes off in London proper or in Paris or something. Like, and game over, Bond. Like, that
would have also established great with the arcade scenes.
Yes, that's exactly right. Like,
paid for by Atari.
Oh, that would be even better. Then Bond would have to figure it out. Why does he keep wanting to target Rome?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like they play 3 or 4 games in a row. In the first place, he always attacks his Rome. Then Bond's like, I have a feeling about this.
Yeah. Like, no, we get none of this.
We get none of this.
Even better, after the failed mission, M fires him, and it's now just a personal vendetta, kind of like License to Kill.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be interesting. It's just, the problem is, a lot of the Bond movies we complain about, like, if you go into Bond expecting to follow the plot, you're already running a fool's errand.
Yeah.
Well, it's an idiot plot. It exists to get a few dots together, which is Q gadgets, beautiful women, martini.
Because even they're missing an integral part of the plot where Bond sees at Shrub Hill, he sees the American Army or Air Force guy with Fatima doing his eye thing. He realizes there's something wrong. He sees the eye, and he runs away, and then he's attacked by the heavy.
Yeah.
Then we get the nukes taken by, surprise, this guy who was at the same place.
Yeah.
And the movie never says to Bond, well, I was attacked by this guy because I saw this.
Yeah.
They never say that. Bond just takes the licking by M, who's saying, you destroyed this place. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
He never says, I saw this by this guy who turned up dead after 2 nukes went missing.
And I mean, and that's the other side. Why does
They
Bond
miss
never...
these integral parts.
And Bond never stands up for himself.
No.
Like, it's never like, even in Pierce's world, when they change knew him to Judi
Judi Dench.
Dench, where she's kicking him around, but she trusts him and she's trying to get the answer out of him.
Right.
Like none of that. Bond just takes it and then again, that's why your idea of him being an assassin makes sense, because he's not even playing the game at this point. And then eventually M's like, oh, we need you. And that's what I was going to get to eventually. The last line where Mr. Bean shows up, he goes, M says that the service needs you and the world isn't the same without you. Please come back, Mr. Bond. He's like,
Never.
Nope.
And wink at the camera.
Yes.
Blink.
How does Largo die again?
Kim Basinger shoots him underwater.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Okay.
And Bond doesn't get the kill. It's Robin.
That's
Why she's there, I don't
that's
know.
Why that's why I completely blanked it out, because it wasn't even a Bond kill.
No.
Yeah.
And and again, you apparently we got the plot, the title from the fact that Sean Connery said he would never do a Bond movie again, and his wife, when he got offered the script as a way to stick it to Cubby Broccoli, said, well, I guess never say never again. And after spousal abuse, it stuck. Sean Connery beat his wife.
Yes,
so we're gonna
he did.
As opposed to Roger Moore, who was beaten by his wife with a guitar. Hence, why they're different characters.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know about that.
Yes. You should read more about divorce proceedings, apparently.
Then we
Apparently.
almost get the title when Mr. Bean says, we need you back, and Bond says, never.
And then
Kim Basinger says, never?
And then the song kicks back in. Never say never again.
That song we wish we hadn't heard the first time.
Oh,
comes
boy.
back.
The one that Bonnie Tyler heard and said, "This is gobshite. I am not doing this song."
We John and Daniel have already told this. Apparently, there's a fan edit where they splice in a John Barry score.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, and someone who apparently this was their audition, I've heard for Quantum of Solace, turned a Never Say Never Again song, which was covered, into a music video like a Bond movie deserves, right? And they spliced it all together on the fan edit. You know what I'm talking about, fanedit.com.
Yeah.
I would watch this because the soundtrack to this is atrocious.
Oh,
The best is forgettable at worst.
Missing John Barry so hard.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like,
They didn't even try to emulate it.
no, and you can, and obviously you can't get a Bond theme. I mean, not even like a parody version that you'd end up on like a podcast. But there's not even a theme that drives the whole movie. Like, it's just a lot of fairly techno-ish.
Well, it's pretty much generic stuff. It kind of vaguely sounds what a Sean Connery theme should sound like, right? Ish, maybe.
I mean, there's not even like a low-voiced woman like a Shirley Bassey type singing "Never Say Never Again."
No.
It's the faintest. Like, the number of times I had to adjust the volume up because you could barely hear anything happening.
Never say never again.
And it's playing over an action sequence, like, because there's no, like I said, there's no title sequence the way we expect.
Now, the title sequences, why didn't they hire somebody to do that? I mean,
Why? Well, even if they couldn't do that by trademark, you can still do.
still do a title sequence.
Where, like, even Star Wars cuts to black and does something else. Like, because Dr. No didn't have something fancy. It was just anything. But maybe the most awkward part about the theme song was that it played over a fight scene where Sean Connery is breaking into a fortress, which turns out to be a training sequence, but it's not revealed at the time. So you'd think something more dramatic there. But there's nothing. It's the softest, poppiest, like 1983 forgettable nothing.
Michael Legrand did the music. He's a 3-time Academy Award-winning French composer, conductor, and pianist.
What did he win? Yes.
I'm trying to find that right now.
Look on the Tribune. They usually have a call-out box.
Well, I mean,
he's known for the Thomas Crown Affair.
the original?
Yeah, Steve McQueen.
Oh, all right.
There you go. I mean, but that's also a very subtle soundtrack.
Yeah.
I mean, again, compared to a Roger Moore, which is,
Yentl. He won for Yentl, Thomas Crown Affair, and Summer of 42.
Those are movies that exist.
Yeah. Okay. Good job.
Nicely done for scoring Yentl there. How do you go from Barbra Streisand to James Bond? Who looks at a Barbra Streisand movie and it's like, this guy we need for our macho action hero?
You know what we're going to do, Covey? If she's dealt with Barbra Streisand, we're going to get Cher to sing the next Bond theme. Never say never.
Well, she would.
Surprised me if she was considered.
She would at least have had the nice deep voice that would have sounded like Shirley Bassey.
Yes.
yeah.
You know what?
She would have been a decent choice.
You're right.
She's got the pipes for it.
Devo doing one.
And that mutant from the X-Files would have been so excited.
Oh man. I mean, I was gonna say I was making a joke, but the next one is Duran Duran, isn't it? View to a Kill.
Which is actually good music.
And they were at least a popular band at the time. It made
Yeah,
sense.
Still fairly popular.
Yeah. This is Bonnie Tyler. I like the idea that Total Eclipse of the Heart looked at this and was like, nope.
No. I'm going to hold out for a hero. That is what
Eclipse.
I am going to do.
Total Eclipse of a plot, I guess. We're just. Do you have anything else to talk about? He doesn't end up
No.
on a boat banging some chick.
It's by a pool
He's by a pool somewhere.
with that tiger swimsuit that we
Yes.
all were laughing
That's
at.
something.
Yeah.
Looks like something out of a Trapper Keeper from 1992.
That's
Now that just makes it sound a lot more awesome
Yeah,
than it really
really.
is.
This wasn't quite so awesome.
No.
No, that's about it, really.
Yeah.
Nothing. I mean, like. So
Why did
here-
this movie get made again?
It got made because of
Because he had-
revenge. It was the last R in
And
Spectre.
yet the movie isn't revenge. There's nothing revenge
Well,
about
it's all
this
just
movie.
Kevin McClure saying, I finally, after 15 years of legal battles, won the right to do this, so by God, we're going to do it.
I'm guessing it goes to show that a movie written before Dr. No sucks. Because if you think about it, the first couple James Bond movies, or at least the first couple James Bond books or stories or whatever, were very simplistic plots at times and then over the top at other times.
Yeah.
Which in some ways became the James Bond themes. But it didn't change with the time. So this was a plot written in 1950, 1960.
Yeah.
Made into a movie in 1980.
Well, and I think it goes to show the problem with Bond that holds on because it's Bond, which is that at the time, the 1980s, there were better action movies doing Bond-like things better than Bond were. And the fact that Bond exists is that it's Bond, right? You know,
Yeah.
like in
You've got the trappings.
right. And in 83, I'd rather watch a Die Hard movie.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Steven Seagal. I mean, Under Siege, the first Under Siege movie was 85, I think.
That was
Was
on
it?
a boat, right?
I
Was that a boat or a train?
thought it came out later than that, like in the early 90s.
I thought that was the second. Oh, regardless, you have other action movies
Yeah,
at the time.
Rambo
you
was
have Rambo was
huge.
out.
Yeah, Rambo.
Like, so the idea that like they're
RoboCop?
Bond movies, RoboCop,
Yeah.
which Kershner did the second one in 1990.
Ooh.
But I mean, again, what goes to show is that if you want a Bond movie, it should be an intellectual, like not necessarily intellectual, but it should be an espionage movie. Bond does no spying here. Why do this as like other than the fact that it's an aging Sean Connery sticking it to a broccoli or a salesman? You're like, you know, there's no point to this. Really, no point to this movie. That's the shame. Right? It's,
Yeah.
That's the shame of this.
No, it was just, I have the legal right to do it, so screw you, Cubby Broccoli.
And it proved it could make money. Now, unfortunately for them, I guess, Octopussy outsold it, which is
Only
an
just.
atrocious movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It wasn't as bad as I remembered. It was just a nothing movie.
Yeah.
I mean, now this is better than Thunderball.
Moonraker was an atrocious movie.
Yes.
Man with a Golden Gun was atrocious.
We need to hold our adjectives until we get to A View to a Kill, which hopefully will cross over to It's So Bad It's Good, but
I don't have
I'm not
hopes.
And I'm to be fair, of the three of us, you're the one who believes in that concept the least.
Yeah.
So
I remember liking A View to a Kill, but I was 12 at the time, so I'm sure my opinions have changed.
that was 40 years ago.
Hey, 30.
But I mean, again, I remember it being almost a cartoon of a movie too. Like it's the
Very
closest
James
to
Bond Jr. Saturday
Yes, I was going to say it's the
morning.
closest to James Bond Jr. of any of them.
I'm gonna flood Silicon Valley. Here are all my microchip minions
Isn't there easier ways? No, isn't it?
from a blimp. Because
Because, and that's the one with Mayday in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Was Grace Jones in that? Was
Yeah,
that
she's Mayday.
All
Yeah.
right.
yeah,
Yeah. No.
Grace Jones.
we have that to look forward to.
All right.
As I recall, what's his name was on set every day. Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was dating Grace Jones at the time.
Oh,
yeah.
that's a movie right
He
there.
should have been in a Bond movie.
He would have been good. In fact, I'd say he'd still be a good because he's still
He'd be a
around.
good henchman or a villain.
He'd be a good
villain.
He'd be
Yeah.
a good villain at this point.
And
He's
who's the
too
one-
old.
He's too. Yeah.
Who's who's the one who's the one who's the action hero who is a physics PhD?
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren would be good
Seriously?
too.
Dolph Lundgren had a
He is a professor of
he's got-
physics.
Really?
He was a microbiologist.
Microbiologist,
or
excuse
something
me.
like that.
Yeah, he does have a PhD in science somewhere.
Yeah.
Like Ashton Kutcher. He's like a medical. I don't know if he's a PhD, but he did something seriously like biotech.
So
I remember
you can
speaking-
go up to Ashton Kutcher and ask him to do a medicine.
Yeah,
and
because
he
he
could do it.
started doing modeling to get through college to pay for all those serious medical bills or school bills that he was racking up.
That's a sexy doctor right there. Yeah. I mean, because I know Michael Crichton never even finished.
Oh, he didn't?
I thought
Which
he was
is weird because you'd think he would have.
I thought he was close, but I don't think he finished. Anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
Would you guys ever watch this one again?
No, I'd seen it once before and I'd already forgotten like pretty much all of it. I remember the doorman scene with the gyroscope. I remember the fact that Kim Basinger was in it, but I'd even forgotten Mr. Crotch. I had completely forgotten that. So that was just how little of an impact it made. I don't know.
The video games.
It was really meant for the people who like were hippies 20 years ago who really loved James Bond and who were like approaching middle age. It was for them, which means it's completely skipped us over.
Yeah. I liked Sean Connery was the best part about this.
Yeah.
Hands down. He plays Bond. He is Bond. I like how they played him a little older and they acknowledged that fact, but they didn't do anything with it. This movie was just a rehash of Thunderball, which wasn't a good movie to pick anyway.
Yeah.
And it didn't add anything to it, updating it with nukes and Spectre and video games and lasers, and it didn't do anything. So, no, pass.
Well, I mean, my favorite part about this one, as my kind of final thought, is the whole self-referential about how Bond is the same, whether it's Bond or not, right? Like, there's a scene at the Get Well hospital, the Get Ringer for Radicals, where the masseuse who massages him earlier comes in and she brings him dinner, and it's like lentils and dandelion and like herbal tea and a colonic or whatever it is. And he opens his suitcase and it's vodka and it's cheeses and it's caviar and it's foie gras. And it's just like, you know what? Bond can be whatever you want, but he's not going to drink mineral water and salad. Like that's just it. Like Bond is going to be Bond. Is it better than Thunderball? Yes. But it's not even going to answer the question of, do you like Roger Moore or do you like Sean Connery? Because like that's almost what this is. Who do you prefer? And at the end, there's better Roger Moore movies. There's better Sean Connery movies. Like the only thing is I like the costumes here better than the most recent. Like there's no lapels that are crazy.
That's true. Yeah.
But like Rowan Atkinson doesn't even add the comic relief they were hoping for.
No.
It's a mess of a movie made by one of the best directors who I guess made one great movie ever. Empire Strikes Back.
RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is completely forgettable. But I'd rather watch this again than Thunderball, except for the soundtrack. But I will look up the fan edit with the better soundtrack to see if that helps any.
Yeah.
But it's frankly 20 minutes too long anyway. However,
Skip through it.
Yeah, skip it. Just if this is one of those movies that if you have as a completely legal video version, I'd watch it 1.5 speed or something.
Yeah.
However, we are out of time. But tune in next time when Bond returns in A View to a Kill, which is Roger Moore's last Bond movie.
Hooray!
Yes. Hooray.
Thanks, guys. I think we're out.
All right. Rose and Crown.
Rose and Crown. Myopia Movies is produced by Nick Hoffman and Daniel Settis. It is hosted by Nick Hoffman and Daniel Settis. Mission Briefing is hosted by John Copsey. Podcasts are edited by Daniel Settis, and Patreon is edited by Nick Hoffman. Our engineer is Nick Hoffman. The theme song is Surf Shimmy by Kevin MacLeod from Incomptech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license.